Hey guys, Mr. Decker here. This is lesson 14, design mode in App Lab. So we are continuing with our lessons in unit 4 and learning how to create apps for smartphones. Today specifically, we're learning about how to work in design mode and get buttons and user interface elements onto the screen. Let's watch a video.
My name is Kaylee Brock, and I'm a software engineering intern here at code.org, and I'm currently studying computer science at the University of Waterloo. Anything that we build with technology is to solve a problem for people. And so if people don't want to use what you build because it doesn't look good or it's not designed to be able to be easily used, then why bother? Because they're just not going to use it. So for me, design is always an integral part of every project that I work on. The user interface of an app is what we call all the components of an app that a human can interact with. Laying out and designing what the screen looks like, deciding what kinds of things a user can do, like click a button, enter text, swipe to a different screen. All of these are aspects of user interface design. We've seen you can add elements to your app like buttons, text labels, and images with JavaScript code. But we've also seen that the process of adding elements to the screen, positioning, styling them, is a bit labor intensive and difficult to see without running the program. It also fills up your app with code that's not really related to its core functionality. Fortunately, AppLab has a feature called Design Mode, a design tool that lets you quickly and easily design your user interface. You should know that apps made in AppLab are actually web pages, whose visual elements are made with HTML and CSS that are controlled by JavaScript. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and tells the browser about the main visual components of the web page. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets and can control the styling of these elements like their color, position, and size. The HTML and CSS are stored for you behind the scenes by AppLab, so you can focus on the JavaScript code, which is really the brains of the app. Whether you're using commands like button, set position, or dragging and dropping a button in design mode, they're both inserting HTML and CSS into your app under the hood. Using design mode helps remove a lot of clutter from your coding workspace, allowing you to focus your coding efforts on function rather than design. Let's see more about how design mode works. In AppLab, you'll see a switch right above the app that switches the toolbox from Code Toolbox to the Design Toolbox. We call this switching into design mode. In design mode, you can drag and drop user interface components onto the screen and position them wherever you like. You can also easily resize an element on the screen by clicking and dragging the little handle on the bottom right corner. On the right side of the screen, you'll see the design workspace, where you can see all the properties you can set for the selected element, like the text of the button, position and size values, color for the background and text, the font size, and a few others. Different elements have different properties you can set. Once you've got an element on the screen, you'll need to make sure you can connect it with your code by setting the element's ID. When you set an ID in design mode, if you flip to code mode and drag an on event block, you'll see a pull-down list of all the element IDs you created. If you made IDs that are descriptive and meaningful, it means it is easy to choose the ID of the element you want and add code to the event handling function. There's also a convenient way from design mode to insert an event handler in your code. In the design workspace, if you click on the Events tab, you'll see one or more suggestions for typical events for this kind of element. You will see a link that says Insert and Show Code. If you click it, it'll append an on-event command to your code and set the ID of the element and event type for you. Whether you're adding an image element to your app or background images for buttons, you can enter the URL of the image you want to use. If the image is very large, you might need to set the width and height numbers so the resize handle fits in the window. Instead of entering a URL of an image, you can also click the Choose link next to the text box, which lets you upload your own image and sound files from your computer to your app. When you upload a file, it goes into a list of assets you've uploaded so far. Once it's uploaded, you can choose that file. Lastly, you should know the screen itself is an element of your app. You can set the background color or background image for the screen. The screen also has an ID and can respond to events like any other element. For example, you might want to know when your user clicked on the screen. You can also have multiple screens in your app. To add a screen, you can drag out a screen element or use the pull-down menu just above the design area. Once you add a screen, give it a meaningful ID. You can use the pull-down menu to switch between screens in design mode. But how do you write code to control which screen to show? You'll see a command in the UI controls code toolbox called setScreen. SetScreen will change the app to show the screen specified by the ID you give it. When you drag the setScreen command out into the workspace, its ID field will show a pull-down menu of all the screens you've added to your app. Now you can change the screen in response to some event. Using Design Mode in App Lab is your gateway to quickly and easily making nice-looking apps. You can add elements to your app, upload files like images and sounds, even add multiple screens.
All right. A whole lot of information was crammed into 6 minutes. Let's continue. I hope you're not daunted. We're going to take this slow, a lot slower than that was. Creating a digital prototype. Using the prototype to the right, click the image to enlarge it. All right, so here's our prototype. We're going to click it to make it bigger. We're going to reference this a lot. Go back to it here. Okay to leave it, or X, right? Using the prototype to the right, click the image to enlarge it. You're going to create a digital prototype of the example app Recycling Finder. We've already added a few of the elements for you, including the title, but it doesn't look quite right yet. We'll go over each element of this as we go, but for now, let's just focus on the title. So do this. Make sure you are in design mode. We can make sure of that up here. We're in code mode. Now we're in design mode. So it says click on the title text to view its properties. So here's the title, my app's title. And now down here we can see properties. So let me back the train up a little bit. This is our display area for the smartphone app that we're making. Here's our design toolbox, where you'll see all of these element options we can add to our user interface. You can go in here and change things around, but I like classic. And then you can change the properties of your element that you have selected. So now you can see the title of the element, home title, text, and then all of the different things you can change about that element. This is your workspace. You can toggle this up and down, hover over this gray area until you see that double arrow like you see, and you can move that around. You can toggle this bigger and smaller, and so on, right? But for now, let's focus on what it's telling us to do here, step by step. Click on the title text to view its properties. So let's click on the title. Here's the properties. And then it says change the property text to Recycling Finder. So here's the property text. We're just going to change that to Recycling Finder. And then change the font size to make the title larger. So where's the font size? Font family, font size. Here we go. I can increase it this way. Let's make it pretty big. Let's look at our sample app again. Yeah. All right. And then change the text alignment so the title is centered on the screen. So now let's find text alignment right here. right below where we were changing the font size, and we'll change that to centered. There we go. Now the title of the app is big on the top of our app screen. All right, we'll run and finish. Moving on to bubble 3. Adding more text. Each screen of your app is composed of multiple design elements. You can drag out elements from the design toolbox on the left side of the workspace. That's right here. Add more blocks of text. To add more blocks of text, just drag out additional label elements. Do this. Drag out a new label element and place it where the home description text should be. All right. Actually, let's change the size of this box real quick, like she showed in the video. Now that all shows up correctly. Okay. So now, and excuse me, I've got a dry throat today. Just taking a sip of water, and let's move on. It says drag out a new label element. Label element, that's this here. And place it where the home description text should be. Let's see, where's the home description? Right here. And it needs to say, find the nearest available recycling bin. So we're going to get it kind of down the page a little bit from where the logo is, maybe here. So let's place that. And then it says to add more blocks of text, just drag out additional label elements. Do this. Drag it out. Change the ID to match the prototype. Home description. Let's make sure. So here's the names of the elements. We want to match that. Home description. So right here on label for the ID, home underscore description. Right? Yep, home underscore description. Change the field text to match the prototype. So right here, we're putting in the text that's going to show up right here. So I need to go ahead and make this larger. And then find the nearest available recycling bin. Okay, so typing that here. Okay. Find the nearest available recycling bin. It's showing up where it should. We'll move it down a little bit because I think it's supposed to be closer, a little bit closer to the search bar than it is. All right, resize the area. We did that part already. Change any other properties to make the text look like you want it to. I'm going to make it bold if I can. Where is that option? Font family. Border color, border radius. Maybe if I change, no, that's not it. That's not what we want. Well, we won't worry about that for now. You can see it on the screen there. All right. So let's continue on to the next bubble and see what's going on. Don't forget to click run and then finish. All right, adding images. The prototype just has a plain black square where the logo should be. Let's add an image to spice it up. The image element allows you to either upload an image from your computer or select from a library of graphic icons. Do this. Drag out a new image element and place it between the description and the title. So description, title. Let's find an image element right here. We're going to put it right in the middle, or try to. Somewhere abouts here. And then click the choose link next to the image field. Choose link next to the image field. Where are you, choose link? There it is. Image field and properties. Choose. And then what does it want us to do? Select the icons tab and choose an icon for your logo. So choose icons. Let's see if we can find a recycling logo. Yeah, recycle right there. Perfect. I'm going to make that a little bigger. See if we can't get it a little more centered. Pull this down some. There we go. And then choose an icon for your logo. Change the color of the icon using the icon color field, which if we scroll down in here, border color, border radius, where's the color? Text color, background color. Where's icon color? Icon color. Am I just missing it? Oh, it's not selected. There we go. Icon color. Why do I keep missing it? There it is. Icon color. Recycling stuff is green usually. Let's make it green. There we go. Perfect. All right. Looks like everything's done for this. Let's continue. So run and finish. Continue. Bubble 5. Bubble 5. Come on. Bubble 5. Any day now, Bubble 5. There we go. All right. Buttons allow your user to interact with your app. This prototype screen will need 3 buttons, each shaded gray on the prototype. We've already added the search button, so you just need to add contact and about. Okay. Do this. Drag out a new button element for each of the 2 remaining buttons, and let's see where they should be. Here's about, and here's contact. So let's add those. So here's a button, and here's a button. Over to this one. This one should be, selecting you, bud. That's button 1, and then we have button 2. So button 1, we're going to change that one so that it says about, and the name of it needs to be home about BTN. So change the IDs. So this is home about BTN. And button 2 is home contact button. Okay. Next step, change the text to match the prototype. So the text for this one should be contact, if I can spell today. And then the other button should be about. So if I select that, there we go. And then you see that reflecting over on my app screen here. Let's see. All right, we changed the text. Modify other properties and make the screen look like you'd like. So on this one, the buttons are way bigger than what I have over here. So I'm going to make my buttons bigger. And I'm going to try to make this one the same size. All right, it's an approximation. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just our first app, but that's pretty good, I think. Okay. Run it and finish. Bubble 6. Making a search box. The search box in our prototype can be created using a text input element. This is a box that your user can type into, and later your software can read what was entered and do something with it. Okay, let's see where that text input element is supposed to be. I think right here, this is our text input. So let's add a text input element. That's this. We'll put that right above our search button. line that up nice. And let's see, change the ID to match the prototype. So let's look at the prototype. Home, loc, input. All right. And then add a label with the text location next to your text input. So grab a label. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, actually. Line it up again. And then my text box, I need this just to say a location on it. So for that, we're going to change home loc label underscore label. Okay. And then it needs to say location. Let's move that a lot closer then. And we'll probably also make that font a little larger. There we go. And let's look back at this. Okay, I forgot to put the colon, so back up to the text. That's that. All right, good. I'm going to move it just a little bit closer. Line it up a little better. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then add a label. Did it. Okay, run, finish. Continue. Bubble 7, checkboxes. The type of recyclables you're searching for can be set using checkbox elements. We already added a checkbox and label for glass, so you just need to add ones for paper and plastic. So you can see the checkbox there and the glass label. So we're adding glass and plastic, and we're adding paper and plastic, sorry. So looking at this, paper goes first and then plastic. All right. So let's add those checkboxes. So here's a checkbox. And it looks like we're going to need to change the size of it. And then let's add another checkbox. Change the size of that one. Whoop. Move it over where it needs to be. Good. And then we're going to grab some labels, put those out here, try to line it up as well as I can. That text is going to be, let's see, let's look back at our prototype. Paper and then plastic. So this one's going to say paper. And the next one's going to say plastic. So another label. Line it up. And plastic. All right, that looks pretty good. But we need to change the label IDs. So let's do that. So this one is already home glass check. So this one's going to be home paper check. And then home plastic check. All right. And then these labels, home glass label, home paper label, and clicking on plastic down here, home plastic label. All right. Typing skills on point for this bubble. And I think we've accomplished everything it wants us to do so far. Our app is coming together. I think it's looking pretty nice. Run, finish, and we're on to bubble 8. Okay, finishing touches. By now, you should have a fairly complete though not functional, digital version of the paper prototype we started with. All that's left to do is check back over your paper prototype and add any final touches you might have missed. Do this. Check over the prototype to make sure you've included everything. So let's check. We've got our title, recycling finder. We've got our recycling logo. We've got the home description, home location label, home glass check, home paper check, home plastic check, all here. Our labels for those are there. Home about button, home contact button, home search button, home location input. So everything is where it's supposed to go. All right. Let's read through our IDs and make sure that everything is descriptive. Home title. Oh, image. Let's do home. What is that called over here? Forgot to change that one. Home underscore logo. Glad it told me to check. This one should be home description, home location label, home location input, home search button, label, label, label. I remember changing all those. About button, contact button. Okay. All right, I think we've included everything that we need to. We've read through the IDs and fixed this one that wasn't descriptive, and cleaning up any rough edges by resizing or moving around elements. I think I like where everything's located. So run, finish, and that finishes lesson 14, design mode in App Lab. All right. So when you're completely finished, just click continue, and don't forget to go back and answer the essential question on the Canvas assignment page. That's it for this lesson. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.